This is a story about the Haw River that winds among the land of the Sissebahaw people, a place that we now call the Piedmont of North Carolina. With headwaters in Forsyth County until it meets the Cape Fear River in Chatham County, this watershed is home to 10% of our state's population. As a resident of Orange County who knew little about this local river, I decided I would take a journey down the river myself to learn about the past, present, and future of this watershed. I started my paddle journey upriver in the small town of Haw River, North Carolina, which tells the story of the pollutants of the past. Beginning in the late 1700s, European immigrants settled in the area, not only displacing indigenous people, but clearing trees and altering the landscape. Then the Industrial Revolution began, and mills developed all along the riverbanks. Granite Mill, shown here, was a major producer of corduroy worldwide. Bright dye colors, along with heavy metals such as mercury and lead, were all emptied, unchecked, into this river. Several miles down the river was Virginia Mills, a grist mill, where grains were ground for flour. Only little evidence of the buildings here remain, yet the pollutants that once entered the water will remain in our ecosystem forever. Luckily, these high volumes of pollution came to an end with the Clean Water Act, passed in 1973. This brought great change to water quality nationwide. For the first time, regulation of discharge and pollutants was being enforced. The waters are slowly returning to pre-industrial conditions, yet not fast enough. Agricultural runoff and our continual development of the land surrounding the river are continuing to cause sediment and nutrient pollution. Jordan Lake Reservoir, fed by the Haw River, has bared much of this burden. As a drinking source for 300,000 people, upstream pollution has resulted in large algal blooms and hazardous waters here. The Jordan Lake rules, developed by the state in 2009, had the potential to change this reality. Yet years have passed, and the North Carolina General Assembly only continues to delay plans. There are many people here in our communities advocating for change and protection of these waters. I had the opportunity to speak to Lucy Gray, a former intern at the Haw River Assembly, a nonprofit fighting for these issues. And here's what she had to say.
In the Haw River watershed, the majority of communities are either rural, low income, or minority communities. The state has tried to pass legislation and pass funding that hasn't been followed through on. And I think in general, just their voices haven't really been heard. It's not that people aren't talking about the pollution issues that the Haw River is facing, but that I think that at the policy level, which is where I think really helpful work could be done in terms of regulating the pollution and regulating polluters, and trying to allocate funding to clean up the river. I think that they're just not really, there hasn't been a lot of incentive for them to pay attention to these communities. So many of the pollution issues are resulting from overdevelopment of areas surrounding the river. And I think especially just as the triangle gets more populated, that's one of those things where it's only going to get worse with time unless people really care enough to take the action or to take the time and take action to do something about it. And I think not only with the drinking water or even the species, but it just provides, I think the whole watershed provides a really important source of recreation and community for so many people. So I just think it's really important for everyone to try to come together and try to preserve the river and undo some of the damage that's been done. Because I think that without group collective action, it's not nothing will happen.
The stories that this river and these people shared with me have taught me so much. I will never unsee how connected we are through this river that we call the Haw. Bounded to our past wrongdoings, yet free to the future, what will we decide to do?